Welcome, everybody. My name is Melina, and I'm an organizer with Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. Welcome to this week's episode of This Is Not a Drill. This is a really important episode as we move through the summer and move out of July into what we call Black August. We're going to be having a conversation about what that means. And we've been posting about Black August and posting the flyer for Black August and talking about how important it is that we commemorate Black August. And one of the questions that continue to come up is why is there so few comments on those posts? Why are there so few likes? We know that we have a really big social media platform, and normally we get thousands of likes, thousands of comments. And what we recognized is that even though Black August has been commemorated for many decades. What are we in the 40th year? Over 40 years now, right? Many folks are unfamiliar with Black August. And so that's fine. That's what this platform is about. This platform is about becoming politically educated, becoming politically grounded, and understanding what it is we have to fight and why we have to fight. And so the conversation that we're going to have tonight is with three of my models, three of our models in this work, three of our favorite people in this work. I'll introduce them just as I see them on the screen. And then we would just want to remind you that we want this to be a conversation. So please drop any questions that you have in the chat, and we'll try to make sure that we get to every question that we have. So joining us is Dr. Akinyele Umoja from Georgia State University, but also from the Malcolm X grassroots movement. And I want to say that it's sometimes hard for me to call him Dr. Akinyele Umoja because those of us who love and respect him and consider him one of our models often call him Baba AK, so I am going to call you Baba AK on here if that's okay with you.
That's right.
We also have joining us Brother Jitu Sadiki, who is one of the core folks when we talk about Black August, was in Soledad prison in 1979, was part of the whole formation and development of Black August, and continues to lead much of that work here in Los Angeles with Black August to Los Angeles. Very grateful to have you, Brother Jitu.
Thank you.
And then finally, we have another one of he's a baby Panther, right? He was one of the youngsters in the Black Panther Party. I still am going to revere you and call you Baba Harold Welton, who is here, who helps to lead a lot of the Black August work. And also one of the things I love most about Brother Harold is how he links the contemporary movement with movements that walked before us. Not that your work is done, your work continues, but we appreciate you for helping to usher us into the work, correcting us when we need correction, but also motivating us when we need motivation. And so the three of you all are going to help guide us through what is Black August, why we have to commemorate it. One of the things that comes up often as we talk about Black August is that this is not the time for picnics and celebration and barbecues, right? But we commemorate, and we really kind of use this time and this month to deepen ourselves and reconnect to affirmation and a commitment to self-determination, to discipline, to study, to reverence for those who walk before us and continue to, some of them bear consequences for their struggle. And so I'm just going to ask maybe Brother Jitu, if you could start us off just with what is Black August?
Thank you, Melina. If I can, I'd like to give a little backstory. I know we don't have much time, but a little backstory so that people understand the context in which Black August originated. It was during a period of time, this is in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s actually, when a lot of brothers came under attack within the prison administration, California prison system, by racist whites, or those that consider the Aryan Brotherhood, and other groups like that by the guards. A lot of brothers were set up and attacked, and you had a core group of those that had identified with the Black Liberation Movement, that existed with Black Panthers and other organizations. Then you also had a Muslim faction in Folsom who would challenge this system. And as a result of them challenging this system, they were, as you mentioned earlier, their lives were put on the line. Many of them lost their lives. And throughout the period of the late 60s up until 1978, I came into the system in 1976. I'm trying to turn this phone off so it don't interrupt us. I came into the system in 1976, and fortunately I came in at a time where there was still that element of brothers who were conscious, brothers who were committed to the struggle, and that's who I gravitated toward, that's who embraced me, and that began my political development. In 1978, Brother Jeffrey Galden, and Ernest Shujar Graham were the primary architects of Black August, commemorating those that lost their lives or paid the ultimate sacrifice. Unfortunately, Qatari was injured on the prison yard in San Quentin, and he wasn't given immediate medical attention, and he lost his life. And so it was the following year that we began. At the time, I was in Solidarity Owain in the SHU program, and we began to initiate the commemoration of those that lost their lives. Even though we practiced during the entire month of August, for 4 days out of the month, August 1st, August 7th, August 13th, and August 21st are significant days that we pay attention to. Qatari was medically murdered in August 1st, 1978. August 7th, the man-child Jonathan Jackson attempted to take over it was a rebellion at the Marin County Courthouse in Northern California, and in an attempt to liberate some prisoners, to go to a radio station and announced that they took hostage the judge and so forth to liberate his brother, his older brother, George Jackson. And it was in the parking lot of the Marin County Court where they were slaughtered. Jonathan Jackson was murdered, along with William Christmas, James McClain, and Rushiel McGee was injured. We go to August 13th, which actually we brought into the month of August. It was an incident that happened in Solidarity Owain on the prison yard where they had just integrated. And it happened January 13th, 1970, but it's honored in August. And 3 brothers were massacred by prison guards when there was a fight broke out after they integrated the yard. And that was W.L. Nolan, and also Alvin Miller and Cleveland Edwards. Fast forward to August 21st, 1971 was when George Jackson was assassinated. So that lays the foundation for Black August. And then we get into the conversation, we can talk about the various practices.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I'm going to ask Baba AK if you can just weigh in and give us some additional information on the thinking behind the development of Black August.
Thank you, Melina, and I'm honored to be on a panel with Jitu, who I've known for decades, and Brother Melton, who I'm just meeting now, but I know some of his comrades helped raise me. So it's an honor. I came in contact with Black August in the later 70s, as some of the comrades that Jitu just mentioned, like Brother Suja, hit the streets and they began to take the tradition to the streets. I remember being invited to come to a Black August celebration that was held in Oakland, California during that time. And many of us who had been in solidarity with the prison movement, and you know, brothers and sisters struggling inside of the penitentiaries, we had connections, particularly through Geronimo Pratt or Geronimo Jijaga. And also there was a publication, Arm the Spirit, that came out of San Quentin. A brother, man, I can't remember his name. G2 might not need to help me with his name. He put out a very fine publication during that time, and we helped distribute it in Southern California and throughout the country. And so learning about Black August, many of us embraced it on the street. And I say us, I was a member of the African People's Party at that time. And we also were part of a group called the National Black Human Rights Coalition that was working with the Republic of New Africa, Provisional Government of the Republic of New Africa. And so in embracing the celebration or the commemoration, we should say, of Black August at that time, some of us introduced it to other people and other formations across the United States during that time inside of the empire. And then we wanted to include, along with those dates that G2 mentioned, that emanate from the resistance that occurred inside of the concentration camps in California. We included things like Marcus Garvey's birthday, which is August 17th. Also the resistance of the Republic of New Africa in Jackson, Mississippi in 1971, which occurs on August 18th. Of course, the Haitian Revolution occurs in August. And so we incorporated those dates, seeing it as this is a month of resistance, and just to try to renew ourselves in this struggle, as the brothers had done inside of these concentration camps in California. Moving fast forward in terms of trying to take it to another generation, some of our younger comrades in New York, I mean, they're older now, but at that time they were younger. They wanted to take and embrace this to a new generation, and they thought the way to do it was through hip hop. So in New York, they began a tradition called Black August Hip Hop that went on in early 2000s. And they organized not only fundraisers with artists like Erykah Badu, Common, The Roots, Talib Kweli, Mos Def, several others. But they did a fundraiser for our political prisoners, but then they began to hook up and do it internationally. First series of international concerts were in Cuba. And of course, our new ancestor, Nahanda Biadoum, who was a political exile in Cuba. She's not as well known as Assata Shakur, but she was in Cuba and for revolutionary circumstances and being hunted inside the United States. She decided to make Cuba her refuge, but she is known as a godmother of Cuban hip hop, primarily because of connections she was making to help organize these concerts, but also to include Cuban rappers. And so this Black August hip hop moved from Cuba. They've had concerts in South Africa, in Tanzania, in Venezuela. And it was a way of promoting and internationalizing this whole concept of Black August as a time for not only new African resistance, but Pan-African resistance. And so that's one of the ways that some of us have tried to build on what was initiated by the brothers and sisters inside of what we call Black August resistance inside of the California concentration camps. And so working with brothers like G2 and several other men, he mentioned Brother Suja back in the day, several brothers like that. We were able to learn from them and to take the tradition. And many of us embraced the Black August fast. For those who couldn't fast, we encouraged them to do other forms of sacrifice during that time to remember what the struggle of our ancestors, but also the struggle of our political prisoners and other politically transformed activists inside the camps, the work that they did and the work that they're doing, actually, because still today, I think the concentration camps, or prisons, if you will, are one space for the development of a revolutionary consciousness. We talk about, oftentimes we look at the students on campuses, but actually in the penitentiary, there's a lot of political education and development of a revolutionary consciousness. So it's important not only for us to do what we do on the street, but to still connect with that and still support the development and the fight of our brothers and sisters inside the penitentiary and behind the walls.
Right. And I see Brother James Simmons has jumped into the Zoom. So we're gonna probably call on you. You can't be in the Zoom and we don't call on you. So we'll probably call on you, especially around calls to action here in Los Angeles, because you're part of the Black August, been leading much of the Black August work here in Los Angeles. Before we go to you, Brother James, I wanna ask Baba Harold if he can just hop in here. And Baba AK, one of the things that I try not to look at my phone when we're on this, but then I just heard you call Lumumba old. So I had to, text him and say, he said you used to be young, but you old now.
Right? He old now. I mean, he got children in college, so recently he's on a flyer. We're going to do a Black August piece on the 1st, and he one of the younger comrades put him as Baba Lumumba Bandeli.
Oh.
I said, I'm going to let that slide. I'm not even going to say that. But she's the comrade who made the flyer is young enough to be his daughter. So yeah,
see, it happens to all of us unless it doesn't. I'd rather it happen than it not, right?
Yeah, hey, I know that's right.
Right. Baba Harold, can you just hop in? And I'd love for you to also lift up some of what's been lifted up is the importance of thinking about not just our political prisoners, but it was actually you, Baba AK, who got me thinking about not just political prisoners, but politicized prisoners.
Right.
So I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about that, Baba Harold, as well as anything else you want to contribute to the founding and foundation of what Black August is and why it's meaningful.
Okay, I'm gonna steal one of my comrades' words, backstory. My introduction to this thing we call the liberation was in 1965, experiencing the Watch Revolt. Shortly after that, my oldest sister gave me the autobiography of Malcolm X, which woke me up from the dead, I like to say. And I became involved in this struggle. The pivotal years for me were 1967, still a teenager, 1967, similar to today, you had revolts all over the country. And the face of those revolts that spoke to me and my comrade was then H. Rap Brown, Jamil Alameen, and Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael. I first became involved in the Black Student Union at Manual Arts High School, and we had a rebellion there, and I was asked to leave. And I went to Jordan High School, and I was active in the Black Student Union there. After that, I became a member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, in Los Angeles, under the leadership of Ron, don't call me the other name, Wilkins. And shortly thereafter, SNCC lost a lot of their funding when they took a stand against Zionism in Palestine. And therefore, I joined the Black Student Union at East LA College under the leadership of Melvin X, rest in power. Simultaneously, after the 1969 firefight, 41st and Central, I became a member of the Black Panther Party. When the forced separation, like I'd like to say, occurred in the Black Panther Party, agitated by the FBI, the COINTELPRO program, counterintelligence program, I went to both, well, let me step back a little bit. I went to both Jonathan P. Jackson and George L. Jackson's memorial service. I read George Jackson's Soledad Brother maybe a month after it came out in 1970, late 1970. And I was really, 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 like Malcolm, I'm really inspired by this comrade. This comrade, like, he hit me in the forehead. So after his memorial service, August 28th, I believe, comrade of mine by the name of Donald Crump, DC, as we call him, we came back with the idea of continuing to organize. And we created an organization in our community, the Avalon Garden Projects, called the Jonathan Jackson Educational Cadre, in memory of Jonathan and his fighting spirit. Also, we had what was called the George Jackson Karate Program. We also had a reading program. We had a food program. I don't know, most of you might be too young to remember reel-to-reel films, projectors. We used to show those on the walls of the projects to the young people at night, and then we served with snacks. Back to Comrade George Jackson. Comrade George Jackson talked about changing or attempting to change the criminal mentality into a revolutionary mentality, which he did. Comrade was very well respected in the California slave camps. He was a good organizer. I never went to prison, but from all the comrades that I met that came out of prison, there was a deep respect for George. At that time, like Jitu talked about, in the 70s, the comrades coming out of prison, they were political, and we looked up to them. I mean, they walked on water to us. And so, in addition, Comrade George talked about towards the united front. What he meant by that was uniting what I call maximum security, that's behind the walls in the slave camps, and minimum security, which is where we are now. And he talked about, again, uniting behind political prisoners. So up to late 1970, early 80s, I had not heard about the Black August movement until then, maybe like the early 80s. And the fact that they talked about George, the fact that they talked about Jonathan Jackson, my attention and ears and eyes focused towards that. In 2007 or 2008, I was at a restaurant here in Los Angeles, and I saw a flyer that said there was going to be a rally or meeting with George Jackson Spirit. This was in August 21st, Black August 21st, 2008 or 7. And so therefore I met Comrade Jitu, Comrade James, and at the time, the first person I saw was Kamasi. When we had the Jonathan Jackson Educational Cadre, we had the honor of Kamasi right after he was released from prison the first time. He came to visit our karate club. Well, it was a big surprise to us. We didn't know who he was until Ron Wilton told us who he was. So first person I saw at the Afiba Center here in LA at the Black August Los Angeles event, or Bala, was Kamasi. And then I got to know G2 and James and others in the Bala movement. And I was deeply impressed to know that folks were organizing with that spirit and all of what G2 talked about in terms of the principles and terms that we, I don't want to say celebration, but we recognize the resistance, sacrifices of Black August.
Thank you for that, Baba Harold. All of that background is hugely important because we are finding that as we move into a kind of another peak of Black radical organizing, sometimes we haven't done enough to kind of steep ourselves in the history of Black organizing, recognizing that we're not the first folks out in the streets, but also there's lessons to be learned moving forward. And so we really appreciate you kind of grounding us, giving us the backstory, but also reminding us that there are people still behind walls that we have to lift up.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, Brother James hopped on the call, so you know, it is what it is. We're gonna call on you and ask you if you could talk a little bit about Black August Los Angeles. And before you do, I just want to acknowledge, because I haven't done this yet, how grateful we are for pro bono interpreters, pro bono ASL interpreters, who for the last couple of weeks have been helping us with our sign language interpretation, and also have been coming to every single protest and signing for our folks. So thank you all for being here. And in a little bit, we'll make sure that we also drop your handles in our Facebook chat. For folks who are watching on Facebook, please, any questions that you have, any comments that you have, drop them in the comments and we'll make sure that our panel addresses your questions. And now I'm going to hand it over to Brother James, because we have a really rich Black August tradition here in Los Angeles, and you all have been carrying much of that work. Brother James, you've been carrying much of that work. Can you talk about Black August Los Angeles for us?
Yeah, first, let me recognize Brother Akinyele, because I found out about Black August at the Center for Black Survival as a member of the National Black Human Rights Coalition, and AK was one of the prime organizers there. So that's how I gained my knowledge of Black August, and I've been participating one way or another ever since. I was like, was it a 81 or something like that, round about that. Yeah, so, but I had found out about Comrade George in high school. An English teacher gave me a book, Blood in My Eye. And I don't know if he recognized what he was setting in motion.
Yes, sir.
I had I had been raised in a family of radicals and militants, and it came second nature to me. And Blood in My Eye articulated a lot of what I was seeing and feeling. And from there, I got Soledad Brother, and continued on as well as I could in Arizona with my political development. But Black August Los Angeles, I joined, doing independent Black August stuff. But in the early, around 2000, 2001, 2000, had to be 2002, 2003, I ran into, I was part of the Capo Angola Center in Los Angeles, and they were participating in Black August. And I was like, oh, wow. I hadn't seen any kind of organized Black August activity. But there were some issues. Then I ran into someone I had met some years before, about probably 10 years, 12 years before, Tandy Cesar Shemarenga. And I began participating in, I think it was called the Black August Planning Committee. Later on in the, towards the end of the 2000s, we had a meeting and decided to call ourselves the Black August Los Angeles. I guess partly to simplify it and to try to reinvigorate what we were doing. It should be noted that at the time, I think I was the only male in Black August, Los Angeles. It was a group of sisters, including Akinyele Umoja and a bunch of another alumni for the Center for Black Survival. But it was a lot of sisters and consistent. Sister Miriam, Sister Kosua, Sister Alake, and we went about trying to carry on the tradition. And we would invite Kumasi, we would invite speakers, we would have programs, we would try to have study groups. We would talk about what had been done and what should be done. Eventually, we called on our comrade Jitu, and he came in, and one of the things that is emphasized and much at his insistence is that we not so much mark about what happened, but what should happen, and how to get these comrades out of prison, how to deal with that. My job, I have another job, is to not only get people out of prison, but keep them out of prison. The fact that we have this proactive bent, and not to say that it's perfect, we could always do better, and this is one of the values of criticism, self-criticism, is that we are free to criticize ourselves and see where we can do better. And so Black August Los Angeles is ever changing. Comrade Harold and I think it's primarily Comrade Harold, set in motion what was to become the Martyrs Tour, and which I think should be in every city. Although in a place like Mississippi, if you include the state of Mississippi, you would have to have a Martyrs Tour year round. The blood is Black people's blood is soaked into the soil there, as well as Georgia, as well as Alabama, and as well as California. But we just take Los Angeles and basically South Los Angeles, Compton, Linwood, and mark those spots of resistance. We do letter writing to the comrades, and we're real particular about that because we don't want folks to get into trouble. We don't want people to talk about, we're gonna bust you out and Black August, and, kill the pigs or anything like that. We try to make sure that the letters go and they're positive and uplifting. We don't have to talk radical. We just have to be radical. We don't have to act bad. We have to be bad. So we have been participating in the Black Panther alumni breakfast, now known as the Marvin Jackson, Roland and Ronald Freeman breakfast. And Roland, peace be upon him, at the time said, can y'all do a tribute? Can Black August Los Angeles do a tribute to the fallen comrades? And that is probably the most well-attended breakfast, which is held monthly, every second Sunday, which is that the Panther Breakfast has. We try to make sure that all the martyrs are recognized, and it's not just the martyrs from the Panther Party, which there are plenty of, but those from all pieces, all aspects of the movement. So
I know I'd like to ask Brother Jitu to expand on what it is you're offering, James, just around how do we commemorate, and everyone can jump in. How do we commemorate Black August? So I heard Brother James talk about the Martyrs Tour, letter writing to our folks who are in prison, who are behind walls. We also heard about fasting. We know that this is also a time of deep political education. Brother Jitu, what should we be doing to commemorate Black August? And I think that this is especially important for young organizers who want to commemorate but don't always know that it's not a celebration, it's a commemoration.
Yes, definitely. Melina, if I can, I would be remiss if I did not mention that as part of the formation and practice of Black August, as Black August made its transition to the community, it was actually the organization, it was Black August Organizing Committee in Northern California, which I was a part of when I first got out of prison, that initiated it in the community. So that needs to be stated.
Thank you.
As far as the practices, there are several things. You just mentioned some of them: the fasting, the political education. We use that whole month to rededicate ourselves to the movement, for one, in addition to commemorating those who made the ultimate sacrifice. And there's various things that we'll do. If a brother smokes, he doesn't smoke during that month. Now he can't smoke anyway because of the various laws that are in place in state prison. But he didn't smoke. If he engaged in some illicit activity like drinking alcohol or pruno or prison-made alcohol, they abstain from that. Exercise, intensifying exercise is really to make you a better person in the process, so that this month, we would practice stuff similar to Ramadan, where we engage in various healthy activities and something to reaffirmation that I'm committed to the struggle. I believe it was Harold talked about the brothers that were coming out. The impact that Comrade George, after he was assassinated, had on people has lasted. I mean, they've been trying to kill George or his spirit for almost 50 years, and it'll be 50 years next year. And his spirit has continued to grow among those inside. Once you begin to become what these young people say, woke, I mean, you have to betray yourself in order to slide backwards. So you have brothers, in addition to those that have been murdered, you have those that have dedicated their lives and spend more than half their lives behind the walls. You got a group of probably about 7 to 10 brothers in the last couple of years that spent over 40 years in prison that just recently come home. One of the brothers I was close to, and we all started as a result of various things that happened in the main line. We all end up in the SHU with indefinite terms. No one had any idea what they had in mind for us when they decided to warehouse these brothers in Pelican Bay and take them through that sensory deprivation and all type of atrocities. Some of them didn't make it. On the streets, they had those that came home politically motivated, like myself. I came home in '82, and at the time, there was nothing happening in LA around Black August. It was all in the Bay Area. So that's why I began to get involved with it. But prior to me coming home, they came under attack. A lot of them end up getting rearrested. They had this Gestapo unit called SSU, which would monitor the activities of those that were on parole and set them up and send them back inside. I went inside twice. Fortunately, it wasn't for a long period of time, but it was because of the actions of SSU. So that was that these brothers continue to pay the price for their political activity. Just recently, within the last, I believe like 2-3 weeks ago, it's been another attack against them inside, where they did a pre-dawn raid in Soledad prison and gaffled up, snatched brothers. The raid was like 3 a.m. They went in, snatched them out of their cells, hauled all of them to the child hall, tore their cells up. And this is some of the activity that they can continuously do. So we're not just talking about the period of commemoration. We're talking about what's ongoing and what has been ongoing ever since the initiation of Black August inside the institutions and on the streets since 1979. But those are some of the things we do. We intensify our studies. We engage in any activity that's congruent with what should be happening with the Black Liberation Movement.
Melina, if I could add.
Please, Baba Eke.
And right along the same lines, here in Atlanta in particular, we talk about fast, study, train, and fight. And so during this time, when we say fast, many people do the daylight fast, similar to what the brothers initiated back in the 70s that Jitu mentioned. But say if you have a health condition and you can't fast, then people give up other things, whether that's giving up poultry or meat during the month or whatever, just to show some form of solidarity. Study, as Jitu mentioned, it's a time for more intense political education, and usually we have some form of political education going on. And that's something everybody could do during that period of time. And then train, so it's a time for the people spend more time on getting physically fit. We've been having once a week, we'll have sessions, and I don't know how we're going to deal with it during the pandemic. Maybe we'll do it by Zoom, but family fitness and defense. So the entire family, not just, athletic brothers, but the whole family comes together and does some sort of physical fitness, as well as learning some self-defense techniques, which is very important, given our situation, but we know the war is still being waged on us. And then fight, Jitu talked about how the struggle is still continuing and we have to move forward with the struggle. And it's also been a time, including that fight, to raise money for our political prisoners and just, support that type of activity. So here in Atlanta, historically, we've done fundraisers for Dr. Mutulu Shakur, whose birthday is August the 8th. Of course, I mentioned before the Black August hip hop concerts they've had historically in New York. So it's a time to educate more people about our political prisoners and struggle of our brothers and sisters behind the bars, mass incarceration, all these questions that go on. That we have to not only do this activity amongst ourselves, but we have to go out and do more to mobilize our people and to get our people more politically conscious also.
So again, fast, study, train, and fight. Fast, study, train, and fight. And that fast is a sun up to sundown fast. You're not fasting completely for the entire month of August. Those of us who are Muslim, it's very similar to Ramadan fast and points to what Brother Jitu mentioned, also the role of the Nation of Islam in helping to shape Black August, right? So I think that some of these practices come also from when we talk about discipline. Islam is a religion that's very committed to discipline. And so fast, study, train, and fight.
I think there was one other aspect too. I mean, I agree with, I think it's spiritual.
Yes.
It's spiritual, building our spiritual resistance. And that's one other connection it would have with Ramadan. So as a community, and particularly as a revolutionary community, it helps us bond and develop our spirits to think about the struggle when Jitu talks about the brothers who were martyred in the California prison system, the California concentration camps. Those and others of our ancestors that struggle, it's a time to remember them and to be inspired by them so we can move forward.
Ashe, Ashe. Brother Harold, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I want to talk about the fact that Black August Los Angeles, along with some other organizations, we formed a coalition to free Rochelle McGee. He is the sole survivor of the slave revolt, August 7th, 1970 in Marin County. Rochelle has been in prison since 1963, total of 57 years. But before that, he was in prison in Louisiana for 7 years. So 57 plus 7. He's really been in prison all his life. He was out until the age of 16. So we have a petition drive going on change.org. Right now we're at 7120, I believe, but I want 71 million. So all of the good people out there, I hope you're listening. We have information on that on our Black August page. What is the other social page that we have it on, James?
I'm also, I don't know if am I muted? No, I'm also right now dropping in, I'm gonna make a tiny URL and we'll drop it in the Facebook chat so people can sign that petition. So that'll be in the chat in just a moment. But can you also talk a little bit about who Rochelle McGee is and why we need to support Brother Rochelle McGee?
Okay, well, Rochelle McGee, like I said, he's been in prison since he was 16 years old. He came to LA after he got out of prison. He was in Angola, by the way, which is a former plantation. He came to LA in 1963 and he was only out for 6 months. He was captured again for a $10 robbery and he got 7 to life and attempted kidnapping. He got 7 to life. He became part of what was the August 7th slave revolt. Let me say this about Rochelle McGee. He's a brilliant legal mind. Rochelle is basing his defense on the fact that he had a right to revolt. He had a right to get free based on the original CNQ. Well, Rochelle's middle name, or I shouldn't say middle name, it's Rochelle CNQ McGee, based on the slave revolt that the original CNQ carried out in the 1800s. He was illegally captured and on the continent, Mother Africa, and taken to Cuba along with other African slaves. Well, they organized a revolt and they took over the ship. What was the ship? The Amistad, James? The Amistad. They were brought to the United States and they went on trial. The trial went through various phases and the Supreme Court ruled that they had a right to get free, a right to revolt from that illegal capture as a slave. So Rochelle, throughout the years, he's been basing a lot of his petitions on the slave revolt of CNQ. Right now, Rochelle has filed a pardon, clemency, the state of California governor, and he's been communicating with Jitu, and we're trying to get as much support as we can to bring this brother out. His brother's 81 years old. Essentially, he's been in prison all his life, and we want to see him out. We want to see him walk among us soon. He's up for parole next year. I believe it's June of next year. We want to get him out ASAP. We want him out now. Again, as to the August 7th revolt, there's a book called Soledad Melancholy. The author's last name is Yee, right? I forgot his first name. But there's a section in it where he talks about guerrillas in Marin. He talks about the calming influence that Rochelle McGee had. I'm not saying it was necessarily a bad thing. as far as the revolt that was carried out. But the author talks about the fact that Rochelle was a calming influence in that revolt. Also, the first trial that was alleged trial that Rochelle went through, it was a mistrial, declared a mistrial. It was 11-1 not guilty in that first trial. Well, in the second trial, they bamboozled him into pleading guilty, which Rochelle didn't really want to do. He's been fighting that also since the August 7th rebellion. So folks can be clear on who Rochelle is. Angela Davis was charged with the same alleged crimes that Rochelle was charged with. Angela Davis, who was part of a well-financed a campaign, well-organized campaign to free her, and she was free. The major charges against Rochelle were all dropped. The only charge that they convicted him on is simple kidnapping. That was a 7 to life. And on that, he's been in on that particular charge for 50 years. So you do the math, right? So we want to free our brother. We want to free our brother. We want to free Michelle Senku McGee. We want to get him out. He deserved to walk among us. He should never have been in all those years. So we want him to walk among us. I want him to walk. You want him to walk among us. So, did I leave anything out, comrades?
Well, we did, again, put the petition in the chat. The petition link for everybody who's watching and may not be watching the chat is tinyurl.com/free Rochelle McGee.
All right.
tinyurl.com/free Rochelle McGee. And you spell Rochelle McGee, RUCHELL MAGEE. It's in the chat. We'll also post it on all of our Black Lives Matter social media so that folks can sign. And what's the number now, Baba Harold, that you said we got to get to?
The number?
You said you want to get to a certain, you
put
out
a
number of signatures that you want.
Yeah, we have over 7,000 signatures. I want 7 million.
Okay, so let's get it. Let's get it, y'all. If the world is rising up, right, we have to always ask for you to do something. It's not just enough to say things like Black Lives Matter. How are you making Rochelle McGee's Black Life Matter, who's sitting behind bars for our liberation? So we can't forget our folks, right? I'm looking at the time, it's 7:54. So I want to use the remainder of the time for any calls to action. So we have a petition. What else do we do? How can folks plug in with what's moving for Black August here in Los Angeles? How can folks plug in?
Go ahead, Jitu.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to let folks know that because of this pandemic, our programs are going to be virtual on the internet. We always start in Los Angeles with a sunrise ceremony, which will be 6 a.m. on Facebook Live and YouTube, and the YouTube live stream under the Black August LA accounts. At 2 p.m., there will be the opening program for Black August. This is August 1st at 2 p.m. again on YouTube Live and Facebook Live. So those are the first programs. We have a program on the 7th on the youth in honor of in recognition of the struggle of youth and the participation of youth. That will also be in the same spots. And what is it, the 16th, the Black and Brown, Comrade Jitu?
Yeah, 16th.
Yeah, in the same locations, which has generated a lot of interest. There has been feuding, especially in Southern California, between in some elements of the Black and Brown community, especially in the gang world, in the world of prisons and jails. There's segregation, and trying to bridge those gaps. So then we have the 21st, and if you visit Black August Los Angeles on Facebook, Black August LA, or on Instagram, there will be notices posted hopefully sooner rather than later, and you can find how to plug in on those platforms.
And there would also be Black August Los Angeles calendar.
Yeah, as part of the Black August account, Facebook account, there is a Black August calendar. So you go straight to the source, and that's where there'll be the broadcast will be coming out of.
Great, thank you for that. I have a child walking through the room during our Facebook Live session, Tandiwe. Go back. Go back.
They say to the youth, I come to say.
Right. She's saying it's break fast. We got 3 minutes. She can hold it. So we just want to lift up how important it is for us to do this work. Some of the other ways in which we can contribute have been mentioned. We want to sign petitions. We want to write letters to our folks and let them know that they haven't been forgotten about. Baba AK is dropping some stuff in the Zoom chat that there will be family fitness and defense every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern time. That's 9 a.m. our time, but it's online, so we'll make sure that we post that link. Malcolm X Grassroots Movement is hosting political education on August 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th. We will post those links for people to plug in. And then we just want to offer to Black August Los Angeles that you all know that we are very grateful for the work that's been done before there was a Black Lives Matter, where we understand that we didn't come from nowhere, that we came from the struggles before us and the struggles that continue under your work. And so we want to just offer a small token of our appreciation. We'll be donating $500 to Black August Los Angeles for you to either use for your programs or put on the books of our political prisoners. And so we'd love to offer that just as a token of our appreciation. And we'll continue to work and promote and do whatever we can to share what's happening here in Los Angeles and around the globe as we commemorate Black August. If you are just learning about Black August, we want to remind you that this is a commemoration. We are commemorating our martyrs. We're commemorating our folks who are behind bars and supporting them. We're recognizing our political and politicized prisoners. We're practicing self-determination and discipline. If you can fast, please do. Everyone can study, right? Train. And what was the last one? Struggle, fight, right? So those are the things that we're doing, and building community, building Black community is hugely important. Again, every Thursday night, we're here on Facebook Live at 7 p.m. Please join us for This Is Not a Drill every Thursday night at 7 p.m. This is part of our political education process. And we want you to also stay plugged in. There's going to be some stuff moving because there's always that last piece. Baba AK lifted up. The struggle continues. And so I know that we're moving a lot of our stuff online, but not all of it. So watch what we're doing, and please join if you can. On Instagram, we're at BLM Los Angeles. On Twitter, we're at BLM LA. And we're continuing the struggle to get free. Thank you again so much, Baba AK, Dr. Akinyele Umoja. Thank you so much, Baba Harold Welton. Thank you so much, Baba Jitu Sadiki. And thank you, James, so much, James Simmons, for joining us. And, you know, it was a wonderful surprise to have you, and we'll continue to work together. If there's any last things that you all want to say, we can just do a quick round if you'd like to give closing thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that we also have a follow-up on this Malcolm X grassroots movement this August 1st at 1 p.m. you all's time in California. And then on August the 4th, that evening, it'll be a dedication to Sister Asada and Nahanda Abiodun. And that will be in the evening of the 4th. And I think I posted the flyers in the chat.
Great, great.
Okay, just want to mention real quickly, anybody that's in Northern California, Black August is still continuing. Black August Organizing Committee, you could go to Black August Resistance California to get information about what's happening, their activities in Northern California.
Awesome. Harold or James?
I want to say free all political prisoners and who shall Senkyu McGee.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Free them all.
Free them all.
Yeah, and I have to say it's been a beautiful experience amongst these revolutionary activists, and seeing old friends and Melina. I know you're catching hell from what you're doing, but keep on doing what you're doing.
Definitely.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right, we will see everybody next Thursday right here on Facebook Live for This Is Not a Drill. Until then, keep struggling. Peace out.
Peace. Peace.